Hello and welcome back. Today we're talking about game fixing. Now this subject is really controversial because a lot of people don't like the idea that something like this could go on in their beloved sports. Well, I'm sorry to poop on people's parade, but here's the facts. It is estimated that the sports betting industry is upward of $200 billion a year. Now, on top of this, the TV networks receive billions of dollars in ad revenue. Now, it is simple logic, and basically everybody can accept this. Wherever there's big money, corruption is never far behind. Well, those are the facts. Whether you choose to believe them or not is up to you. Now, I would prefer not to be naive and actually try to make money from this, because if you can figure out where a game fix is, then that's one of the best edges you could ever get. So, I've read a few books on the subject. The Fix Is In and Larceny Games by Brian Tuohy really opened my eyes and made me think. And another one that gave you an inside shot to what's going on is called Personal Foul by Tim Donaghy. Now, Tim Donaghy is the NBA ref that was disgraced for fixing games several years back. So, it's really hard to believe that that's an isolated incident. And he claims in his book that it's not isolated. And, basically, to me, it's just simple logic. This is going on to this day. It's pretty hard to deny. So let's move on. There's basically two kinds of fixes going on. One is from the mob, and the other is from the TV networks. Now, mob fixes are motivated by sports betting money. I would say that probably in most of these cases what's going on is there's lopsided betting, and the mob is looking to take the public to the cleaners. And in any case of game fixing, the evidence is circumstantial at best. So a lot of this is going to sound like conspiracy theories, but when enough coincidences add up, well, after a while you get to start to believe that it's not coincidence. So I'm going to give you probably the best example of what I think was a mob fix. Now, this goes back to the NFL, back to 2012, when the replacement refs were refereeing. So what was going on is there was a lockout with the normal refs, and they hired replacements. Now, in week 4, the regular referees came back to the game. So week 3 was the last week that the replacement referees, were going to ref any games. Now, here's what you need to think about. Okay, these replacement referees are probably never going to ref in another NFL game in their lives. Now, they're not getting paid anywhere near the amount of the players, and I imagine they probably got paid less than the regular referees as well. So, if you are in the mafia, well, this is an obvious opening to go and try to fix a game. And all you have to have is 1 or 2 refs in your pocket, and you can completely control a game. It's ridiculous the amount of control these guys have over a game. So, basically, week 3 in the 2012 season was highly suspect to me. Now, what actually happened? Well, there were 16 games that occurred, and out of these games, only 4 favorites won. Okay, the rest of the games, against the spread, this is very important, it has to be against the spread, all underdogs won. Now, if you understand, basically, bookies will tell you that most people love to bet the favorites. They're all over the favorites. Now, if 4 favorite teams win and 12 underdogs win, that means that the betting public just got plastered. I'm estimating at least $1 billion changed hands, if not more. Possibly upwards 5, maybe even 10 billion, depending on how heavily these games were bet. So, to a mob boss, a couple $1 million to get a ref in your pocket is absolutely nothing to get $1 billion or more back. You know, that's just smart investing in my mind. Now, to cap it all off, the proof in the pudding, the very last game of that week was the controversial Green Bay versus the Seahawks game, in which we had the quote-unquote Fail Mary pass. The call in the end of that game decided who won and who lost, and I believe ultimately decided who went to the playoffs that year. I'd have to look back into that, but anyways, basically everybody from the public to the TV announcers, everybody was up in arms about this call because it was absolutely terrible. And to me, it was the ultimate proof that this game had to have been fixed. There's no way that anybody could have called that correctly and say that that was a touchdown. At the very least, they should have made them replay that play, if not call it an interception. So anyways, that's mob fixes, and that's basically how they do it. They get to the referees. Now, shaving points and getting to the players, I'm sure that goes on as well, but the cheapest way to get to them these days would have to be through the referees, because they only get paid a fraction of what the players do, and they have more control than anybody else on the field over what the score is going to be. That being said, let's move on to TV network fixes. Now, a network fix is motivated by money as well, but it's not sports betting money. It's advertising dollars. Now, this goes along the lines of creating a good storyline, because what this is all about is creating good ratings. Now, Brian Toohey brings up some really good examples, and I'm just throwing out a couple here. After 9/11, the Patriots miraculously win the Super Bowl. Now, by itself, that's a mere coincidence. But then in what was it, 2004, Hurricane Katrina, the Saints end up winning the Super Bowl. What a great storyline, huh? Oh, that's a great boost to the city of New Orleans. Fantastic. Well, if you go through the book The Fix Is In, Brian Toohey lays out just example after example after example of this. And, you know, one or two of these could be an isolated incident. But if you've got 50 to 100 examples of this kind of thing going on, I'm sorry, it is not coincidence. These guys are influencing the game, period. So basically, what I did, I took that information and I really started to think about it. And when I heard the term Harbaugh Bowl announced, I was like, oh my God, this is going to happen. So sure enough, the San Francisco 49ers faced off with the Baltimore Ravens, and the two Harbaugh brothers were facing each other. An irresistible storyline. Well, I took this one step further because Ray Lewis announced that he was going to retire after that year. And I was like, well, what better storyline than to have a future Hall of Famer go out with a Super Bowl ring? So, based on nothing more than that single call, I was able to basically call who was going to win the Super Bowl. Now, it had nothing to do with who was the more skilled team. I personally believe that the 49ers were by far the more skilled team on the field that day. And I believe that the game was fixed. There was a lot of things that went on to show, in my mind, that was fixed, including the blackout, and just the way the game was played. To me, I think that the 49ers were actually pissed that they had to throw the game, and so they threw it in a fashion to show everybody that they were the better team by letting the score go up in the beginning and then coming back to almost win it in the end, only to give up right at the very end and give the TV networks the storyline that they wanted. I think that was a middle finger to the TV networks and saying, we are the better team. And, you know, we accomplished in one half of a game what took the Baltimore Ravens the entire game to accomplish. So, it's circumstantial. It's just based on my own observations. Now, I don't call these things right all the time. In fact, I would say that I probably rarely ever call these things right, but I'm watching for them. Now, last year, I tried to call a storyline fix that I thought was developing, and it actually played out very well right to the very, very end. And basically, what I called was, I believe that the Seahawks and the Denver Broncos were going to end up facing off for a rematch in the Super Bowl. And there were little subplots that were going on that I was playing on as well. Now, I started playing this storyline before the regular season was up. I can't remember exactly what week that I decided on this, but I think it was probably around week 14 or 15 that I started playing this. And basically what I did, if you've seen my earlier videos, I talked about the hybrid martingale. Well, I had accomplished the 40% that I was looking for the season by week 12. And when I saw this storyline developing, basically what I did is I took the $400 and I just plowed that into this storyline. And one of the subplots that I was playing along with this is that I believe that the Broncos were going to face off with the New England Patriots, because you have the great Manning and Brady rivalry going on. So I was playing that angle as well. Well, basically, $1,400 shot up to $8,300 over the course of a few weeks, because I just kept plowing my profits right back into this storyline. And I lost a couple bets here and there, but for the most part, it was playing right along as planned. And then it started to fall apart in the playoffs. I lost a game before the Denver Broncos disaster, but basically what happened is I had about $7,000 left when the Denver Broncos game happened, and I really loaded up on this thing. Basically, I kept $1,700 aside, and I put everything else that I had on this game. And I don't know what went on with the Broncos, but they simply did not show up. So it ended disastrously, but for me, I take it as a victory because, I sniffed out a storyline. It wasn't exactly correct, but I was able to take it pretty far into the playoffs and build a large amount of money before it bit me in the butt. Now, the best thing that came out of this, and it may have been a hard pill for some people to swallow, but I had set a goal of hitting 40% for the season. And I protected that money, and I actually walked out with a 70% return. Now, $1,700 is a far cry from $8,300, which was the high that I had hit. But to me, that was the ultimate success. So, in my mind, I think it's very important to watch for any storyline fix, because these are easier to sniff out than a mob fix. If I'm going to watch for a mob fix, basically I'm going to look to see where the public money is going, and if it's really, really lopsided, it's still pretty hard to tell, because you could have 90% public money on a game and then 10% sharp money, but the sharps have bet millions of dollars, while the public are betting anywhere from $10 to $100 to $200. So even though it looks lopsided, the money might actually be balanced out. So it's pretty hard to sniff out a mob fix in my mind, but much easier to sniff out a storyline. Basically, you look at the storylines, there's certain teams that the NFL just seems to favor. The Patriots, the Green Bay Packers, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Where have the Jaguars been? Where have the Oakland Raiders been? Where have the Washington Redskins been over the past few years? They had a little spark of hope with RG3, but then it kind of faded out again. It always seems to be the same teams back in the playoffs, and it seems to be pretty rare that these red-headed stepchild of the NFL, you know, make it anywhere. You know, Cleveland Browns, for example, where have they been? You know, the Buffalo Bills, you know, they're getting better and better, but they haven't sniffed the playoffs in a long time. So, in my opinion, the thing is definitely fixed. So, you watch for the storylines, you know, what's going to make the best headlines, and, you know, listen to the announcers, because a lot of times they hand it to you on a silver platter. You know, when I forget who it was who announced the Harbaugh Bowl, but as soon as he did, I knew that was what's going to happen. You know, it was already written. They were going to the Super Bowl, no question. So, basically, keep your eyes open for it. And if you find something that you think is a good play, basically, don't risk your principal on it. Risk profit. You know, if you've made like 40% profit or even 20%, you know, take that 20%. That's house money. And you put it on those games. And if you're right, you keep rolling it over in the anti-martingale system. And before you know it, that 20% is going to be larger than your entire principal. You're going to get 2, 3, 4, 500%. Now, I started with $1,000 in the NFL season, and it went up to over $8,300 before I lost. That's 830%, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Now, yes, I ended up losing most of that, but I protected my gains at the same time. So as long as you do this, you're going to be all right. So that's the main concept I'm trying to convey. I think it's the best edge that you can possibly find in sports betting if you sniff one of these things out. So stay vigilant, stay on top of it, and look for those storylines. Now, if you like the information you're seeing in these videos, go ahead and hit the like button, leave some comments, and if you're seeing this anywhere else than my newsletters, then go ahead and subscribe, and I will send you out updates to when I come out with new videos, new strategies. Alright, thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time.